a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Dave X Media.
I'm Christina Kahn.
And I'm Leela Hilton.
And this is Burn Before Reading, the podcast about shiterature.
We're here again to discuss the terrible writing we did when we were younger and touch on some other cringy literary topics.
With us today is author Caitlin Rozakis, author of Dreadful and the recent release, the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. I'm going to read your bio because me and Leela were giggling about it right before this.
Yeah.
Oh, good. After graduating from Princeton, she had too many career changes, including mechanical engineering, cut short after the murderous robot incident, finance, amortizing tequila receivables is not as fun as drinking tequila, and the American Museum of Natural History. Who knew emus had birth certificates? And a number of marketing positions, some at companies you may have even heard of. She lives in Jersey City with her husband and son. Wonderful bio. Thank you so much for being here, Caitlin.
I would like to state for the record that the TA did not actually die. He was merely severely bruised by the robot.
I was going to ask about that. That warrants some follow-ups.
Yeah. That robot didn't go great.
It is an absolute honor to have you here. I read your book, Dreadful, last year, and I was absolutely delighted, and I'm really excited to read your new book. Will you tell the listeners a little about it?
Absolutely. So, the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association I've been describing as Big Little Lies Goes to Magic School.
Oh, wow, that is awesome.
Yep, it's from the perspective of a parent who is a perfectly mundane human. Her daughter gets bitten by a werewolf in kindergarten and suddenly is whisked off to a school that she never heard of to learn magic that she didn't know existed. And now she's on the PTA with a whole bunch of people who can throw fireballs and vampires and selkies and such, and she is just a retired accountant.
Okay, that's freaking awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to read it.
I love that. What is it? What's like the age range that your intended audience?
This is very much intended for adults. This is for folks who grew up on magic school books, including those of She Who Shall Not Be Named.
Yeah, we're familiar.
But I mean, there's a ton of magic school books. They're always great.
Yeah.
I love the whole tropes of magic school.
Yeah, totally.
But if you let kids have adventures, that usually requires the adults to be incompetent in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Boy,
true.
don't it.
Yeah, so when you start looking back at these as an adult, you're like, oh, wow, record scratch. Wait a second here.
Why is everyone an orphan?
Yeah, like, why do you have a monster in the basement? What do you mean there's stuff on the school grounds that eats people? You've lost how many students? Like, I mean, I'm a mother of a middle schooler at this point. I've been on the PTA for like 10 years, and it's like I have to sign freaking like permission slips, for them to like do tie-dye or something, and they're gonna go like ride a hippogriff. Are you?
Sure.
What are you talking about here? So yeah, it's very much the collision of modern parenting against some of the magic school tropes.
That is awesome. That is so clever. I'm really excited to read it. Congrats on the release.
Why, thank you.
Did you do anything special to celebrate? Do you have like launch parties, or do you private or public? Did you do anything exciting?
Yeah, actually, lucky enough, I actually had my lunch at the Barnes & Noble in the Upper East Side in Manhattan.
That's
and
very
then
cool.
My local indie also wanted in, so we then had a secondary lunch party a couple days later over at the indie bookstore that's a couple blocks from my house. Because I love them.
That.
They're so sweet.
Yeah. That is like that is like the way to do it, I think. So you get the notoriety and the publicity and like sort of the more mainstream, and then you get your private, your more local little, the one that's for you and your community, And
I made an absolutely ridiculous cake, which you can find the photo and the making of video on my Instagram. Because once I was invested in making the ridiculous cake, then I'm like, okay, well, I might as well like make content, which that's definitely on the cringy things of being an author is the requirement to produce an endless stream of content to
Oh,
go
God,
along
yeah.
with your actual writing.
Tell me about it. I worked in indie book marketing for quite some time, and it was not my favorite part.
It's part of the game. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately necessary because that's where people are now. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to stand out in a very crowded marketplace. And fortunately, I do, in fact, like making cakes. So that part was like, I mean, I made the cake because I wanted to make the cake and also
Yes.
I wanted to eat the cake. But since I was already doing the ridiculous thing, then I might as well get credit for the ridiculous
Kill
thing.
two birds with one cake. You know?
Exactly.
Christina, what has been cringing you out this week?
I have been cringing myself out over the last
Okay.
couple weeks. As y'all know, I'm recently divorced and I am in a new relationship. I'm newly in love. And that's a lot of fun. It feels really good. But it's been 10 years since I was at the beginning of a relationship. And my new boyfriend has started gently asking me not to mother him so hard, which is hard because my ex just truly needed that deeply constantly. And so I've been having to like break myself of this habit that is like so deeply ingrained in me. So I'm catching myself constantly being like, is that what you're going to wear today? And he's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, looks good, hun. No, that's perfect. You probably won't get uncomfortable in those shoes at all. Like stuff like that. So I'm cringing myself out with how often I find myself giving unsolicited advice because as a reflex.
Although I kind of am loving this new guy for you. Because
Thank
the fact
you.
that he doesn't need that, it sounds like
I know.
you may have landed a grown-up.
Well, yes, he definitely needs it so much less than my ex-husband. He needs it a little bit.
We all need a
but
little help here and
he
there.
he can learn on his own.
I know, it's so hard, though. It's so much easier just to tell them the right thing.
It's like, why? He wants to wear flip-flops to King's Dominion, and I'm like, you're going to have to take your shoes off for every roller coaster. But I'm not saying that.
Maybe
That's
like
a conversation we had
through his
today.
toes.
I guess. But anyway, I didn't tell him any of that. I said, sounds great, honey. Caitlin, what's been cringing you out lately?
Last week actually has been pretty great. Well, okay, this isn't so much cringe, but so I just got back from ALA. It's the American Librarians Association conference, which we'll talk a little bit more about conferences in a minute because that's our topic. And it was overall super awesome. Librarians are the best. I love them.
Hell yeah.
But I did have my panel ended up having really, really bad timing in that I ended up in the lunch slot against the Librarian of Congress who just got fired. Which, I myself do not think that my slot was as important as what she was talking about.
Sure.
And I also cannot blame people for wanting lunch because I really like lunch. So
Yeah.
Great.
That's really hard. That's really hard. I would have had a hard time with that.
So it was definitely not as well attended as I was hoping it would be, and there's a certain fun to sitting there staring out at a sea of mostly empty chairs with a few people in them. Like a few people showed up, and that was really nice.
And also there were chairs. That's pretty cool.
So
Spoiler
that
for
was,
what's to come in this episode.
But that was a little bit of a, okay, well, we're going to roll with it.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Because it's like it was out of your control and it was out of the attendees' control too, who might have wanted to hear you.
And I mean,
they had to make a hard decision.
The thing is that this kind of stuff just happens at conferences. I've been working in corporate marketing for like 15 years. I've been to so many conferences, and there's just always like somebody has to be in the less good slots.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. And I did end up hanging out at the booth more than I think my publisher expected me to, and got to meet a ton of really awesome librarians and fans who were coming by the booth. So I felt like it was a weekend well spent. But there was definitely that sitting there, especially the first like 2 minutes, because more people came in as I was talking. Thank goodness.
Okay.
But there was like the first 2 minutes where it's just like I'm just going to talk as if there's something going on here, and there's like nobody here, but I have to talk anyway.
Yeah,
so that was fun.
A couple summers ago, I worked at a brewery, and we had a beautiful, like wonderful singer-guitarist come in every Thursday. But the beer wasn't good, and it was a very nobody came to the brewery.
Oh no!
And one Thursday, it was just her and me, and she was like, "Well, I got paid to be here, so I'm going to sing for you." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds great." If everybody's in good spirits, you can make the most of it.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't personal. I had a good weekend anyway. All's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Leela, what's been cringing you out lately?
Okay, Tina and I were actually with some friends in Mexico recently.
Ooh.
And
Oh, yeah.
We were in Cancun at an all-inclusive. It was really fun. And one of the days, like one of the last days there, a bunch of us went to downtown Cancun and got tattoos, which was very fun. So yeah, we all went to this really cool place to get tattoos, and we kind of spent the day there, you know, because it was a large group and we all came together. But what we should have asked at the beginning is like, hey, we all have these tattoo ideas, which one will take the longest? Because we waited until the very last person to do the longest tattoo, which was about 2.5, almost 3 hours, which is apparently not even that long for tattoos, but whatever.
It's true, but still.
It was just the fact that it was, you know, it was our second to last day at the resort that we paid for, you know, so we were all kind of wanting to get back there, get our money's worth, sit by the pool, you know, get cleaned up, do whatever. But our friend who was getting her tattoo, she had her like phone overheated that week, so she was just kind of like phoneless in another country, and everyone, like, the transportation was already ready, everyone was getting ready to go back, and she was like, I'm just not comfortable being here alone, which is, I do understand. I know that's not, you would have been fine, Tina, but that's not, I understand. So I was like, okay, I will stay with you. And so I stayed, and so I was there at that place from around like probably 10:30 a.m. until...
It was 10. Courtney's appointment was at 10.
Okay, so from 10 a.m. until I didn't get back to the hotel until after 9 p.m.
And listeners, she didn't even bring her book.
I didn't bring a book.
No.
I have
Gotta bring a
ADHD.
Tragedy.
It's very hard for me to sit still to begin with.
And I kept offering her my book that I like kind of wasn't into.
Yeah, you really didn't
"Do you
like
want this?"
sell it well, so I was not feeling it. So it was just like frustrating to sort of not lose, but sort of feel like you lost a day.
Yeah, no, totally.
But
And thank you for your service.
you know what? You're welcome. And actually, it ended up not being a cringe because by the end of it, we got back to the hotel and everything. And our friend who was my roommate for the trip, we really didn't know each other very well. Like, just kind of like, it's one of those things where like you're in a big friend group and like you have your people that you like talk to all the time, and then there's like your other people that you're friends with but you know nothing about. At least that's the case for me.
Yeah.
After all of that, our friendship, I feel like really happened, and I think we're friends now.
That's awesome. So you did a surprise uncringe.
You know, I love to do a backdoor
Sneaky backhand cringe.
yeah, sneaky backhand uncringe. Moral of the story is maybe you waste a day, but you gain a friend.
Aww.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
All right. So not the cringiest week we've ever had. We've had deaths and divorces on this show, so...
Yeah, great job, gang.
So today we're going to be talking about... Well, actually, Caitlin, why don't you tell the listeners what we're going to be talking about today, since it was your awesome idea?
Absolutely. So we are going to talk about when bookish events go bad. And part of why I initially pitched this idea was because it was right after the whole thing with A Million Lives blew up, which if you aren't familiar with this particular scandal, we're going to tell you all about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a saga. Where I was going to suggest that we start is talking a little bit about just sort of a taxonomy of book events first, because there's a lot of different kinds of book events. And I mean, I think I'm a little bit older than you folks, so I've been around for a little bit longer, and I definitely am seeing with younger fans that there's not always, people aren't always clear on the different kinds of events that are out there.
Yeah.
And as a result, like, some of these things, they go wrong in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Because there's different things going on, and
They're
different things
organized
needed,
in
different expectations.
ways. There's different expectations, and sometimes it's just that, okay, people go into one thing and they're expecting something else, and it's just not the thing they expected, and that's unfortunate for everyone involved, but nobody did anything wrong.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a book review that's like 2 stars? I thought this was going to be a mystery, but it was a romance.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, man, that's not...
That's not what reviews are supposed to be.
You just did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it is kind of fair, though, because sometimes it's marketed badly.
That's valid.
Okay, so there's a bunch of different kinds of bookish events out there. So the one that is less likely to hit readers in general is the conference. So like I was just saying, I was at ALA. That's a professional conference. You may see when you're following writers on Instagram or something, you might see people showing all these like photos and videos of stuff otherwise at this, or the Frankfurt Book Fair or the London Book Fair or stuff. And sometimes people are like, oh, how can I go? And the answer is no, you can't. Sorry.
Right.
These are explicitly events that are professional events for people who are in the industry. They're not for readers. They are for people who actually work with books.
Yeah, they're like targeted towards writers and other industry professionals.
They're not even targeted towards writers. We are trotted in as exhibitry, basically.
Okay.
Like it's not like going to ALA. I'm not going there to meet writers. We are not going to talk about writing. There is nothing there that is for me. There are no panels for writers. There are no networking opportunities for writers. It is explicitly an event for librarians.
Okay.
And the publishers are there to sell things to librarians, and they will bring the authors along to be their dog and pony show for the librarians.
Okay, got it.
Same thing with like the book fairs. I know that sounds like, it's like the World's Fair. Oh, it's
like the Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah, no. This is where the different publishers from different countries are meeting up to decide what things are getting licensed into different territories, what's getting translated. It is explicitly for book publishers and printers, and in some cases translation agencies. And again, like if writers go, it is specifically they are brought as an exhibit. There's nothing there for them, and there's definitely nothing there for readers. It's not for the general public. So we're just going to set that aside. But just so when you're seeing these things online, that's what that kind of thing is. Mm-hmm. Then along with that, there are professional organization conferences that are put on by the writer organizations. And again, these aren't really intended for the general public. So for example, I am in the Science Fiction Writers Association of America. We have the Nebula Awards weekend, which is, it's not intended for fans. It is specifically for writers within this professional organization. With the RWA, the Romance Writers of America, before they set themselves on fire, that's another fun scandal that you could go into at some point. But they used to have their own conference. The horror writers, I think the Stoker Con actually is open to the general public. But again, these aren't really intended for readers either, because it's not supposed to be about writers interacting with fans. It's specifically for writers to be talking very deep shop with each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so now we're going to talk about stuff that's actually fun for fans. Yay! And there's a couple of different things. So there are the original set of stuff. Okay, the original set of stuff was like the book tour, where a publisher would pay to send a writer to different places to give a lecture or be on a panel or something. And I mean, like they were doing this with Charles Dickens. He would do like speaking tours. These days it's usually like a reading or something at a local bookstore is really popular. There's a limited way about in which this can go wrong because it's usually organized by a publisher and it's usually through like an existing bookstore.
Right. So someone would have to deeply drop the ball.
You
on
really
something.
would. And the other thing is they are usually either free or the only cost is you have to purchase the book. So there's a limit to how, like, even if something does go wrong, somebody doesn't show up or the power goes out or whatever, it's like you're really not out money, or you're out a very limited amount of money and you walk away with a book. So those are super fun, and they're also pretty low stakes.
Okay.
Now we get into like the convention. So we talked about conferences. Now we're going to talk about conventions. So the oldest ones were fan run. I think the oldest one is actually PhilCon, which still exists, although it's sort of a shadow of its previous self. That was started in like 1937 or something. It was a science fiction convention specifically, and it's really, really prevalent in like the science fiction and fantasy communities, and somewhat in the horror communities, and then becomes less so the more generally accepted the genre is. Right. And I think part of that is because my people, as fantasy people, we always knew that we were the weirdos, and that fan run conventions, especially in the days before the internet, was your only chance to actually go talk to other weirdos like you.
Yeah.
So, like, the fanish community in, like, the fantasy and science fiction area has always been very, very strong.
Yeah, well, and those subjects used to be a lot more niche.
They were.
It was harder
They
to
were
find people
weirdos.
who read those, whereas these days I feel like people are eating up science fiction and fantasy. Or
Absolutely.
maybe that's just the people I surround myself
Well,
with.
yeah, but it really is. It's much more mainstream now. I mean, like, fantasy, like, you know, with all of the superhero stuff, because superheroes used to be a weirdo thing if you were an adult and liked superheroes. Game of Thrones really made it very acceptable to like dragons as an adult.
Oh yeah, I remember when that started becoming famous. Everyone was like, "Only my like nerdy uncle knows what that is." Like nobody knows what Game of Thrones
I'd read them
is.
before. It was cool.
All right, you're somebody's nerdy uncle.
Aunt, thank you. And yes, I am in fact somebody's nerdy aunt, and I'm pretty sure my brother thinks that I am weird. And he's right.
That's a brother's
You're doing
job.
something wrong if your brother doesn't think you're weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So the thing with the fan run conventions is that they are always well intentioned, but sometimes a hot mess.
Okay,
Because
yes.
no one is getting paid. Everyone running it is a volunteer, and there's no intention to make a profit.
Yeah, those people probably often are, it's like a labor of love, and they're not like
Very.
professional event organizers.
Exactly. Now, some of them,
Makes
after a
sense.
while, they've been running them for a long, long time, and they get very good at it. And some of them just run without a hitch, and they really are pretty amazing. And some of them slowly die over time, and some of them, like Worldcon, is kind of known to be it's a hot mess that is a new, different scandal every freaking year.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, someone tried to hack the Hugo Awards, but they caught them. So that actually came out okay. But
Okay.
the previous year was in Chengdu, China. And then again, there's
we did an episode about that actually.
That thing.
Remember, Leela, we were talking about Jiren-Jay Zhao
Yeah.
in that one.
Yes. So if you're just coming in, you should absolutely go back and check out that episode because that was
Yeah.
a saga and a half. Around the time that Star Trek started becoming really popular and the Star Trek cons started up is when the commercial cons started coming in. Now, the ones that everyone's going to be most familiar with at this point would, of course, be San Diego Comic-Con and the
Right.
New York Comic-Con, which are massive for-profit endeavors. Like, massive. Commercial run cons, though, do get much smaller than that. They aren't always quite that huge. And if we went to, I actually was at the very first New York Comic-Con, and it was a hot mess.
That makes sense.
They have
You gotta start
subsequently
somewhere.
got their shit together. But it was, oh my gosh, it was a disaster. It was such a disaster. We can talk about it later if you want.
Yeah, well, that sounds like it's its own episode.
Yeah.
The first ever. That's so.
It's like, it's a 3-minute rant.
Okay. I look forward to the tiny rant then.
Yeah, it's a mini rant. Like, there wasn't anything unethical or anything. They just really were disorganized and made for a very unpleasant experience for all involved.
Right.
And then the last one that I am seeing more and more of now are these immersive experiences. So this is stuff like the Bridgerton balls that have been becoming really popular.
My brother-in-law and his wife went to one of those, and they got like a professional oil painting done.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my god, that's so fun.
I know.
Yeah.
I was kind of jealous.
So these look very different from a bunch of the other stuff where they are they're almost always for profit. They're often associated with only one or a very small subset of media, whether it's a TV show or a book or something. And whereas most cons, there's usually a lot of, there'll be panels with guests who are experts. There are usually like meetups and cosplay and stuff. The experiences are usually less about sitting in chairs and hearing people talk and getting stuff signed, and more about doing something. And they may not have any celebrities of any kind at all. Like, they may not have any special guests. They might just be, you show up in a pretty costume that matches this theme, and you get to do a bunch of activities.
I love that.
Like
That
a run
sounds
fair.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, run fair, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fantasy balls have been getting really big lately. And a lot of times you will have it sort of, I've been seeing a lot of the combination of like sort of a commercial con in the day where there is a room full of merchandise you can buy and opportunities to get stuff signed by authors, and sometimes maybe a panel or 3 during the day, and then in the evening everybody comes to this ball. So like a lot of times these things are getting mushed together, and like the fan run cons have had dances for forever, but they have like costume contests and all that kind of stuff, but it's more like nerd prom,
right?
As opposed to a fantasy ball where there's a theme. It's supposed to be immersive. It's supposed to have a whole set of themed activities. People will actually try to do some like Renaissance style dances or ballroom dances and stuff. I get the impression sometimes with limited success, all of those things are not necessarily easy to do.
Yeah, right.
And like sometimes the music will all be theme, like music that feels like the kind of thing you would hear at a Fay court or at a Regency ball or something versus, top 50.
Right. Oh, God, it sounds like such a dream.
Mean, it sounds like fun. I have not been to any of the fantasy balls, although I'm looking at trying to do some related events next year.
Yeah, I would be like very interested, but I feel like I am scared because of the couple failures I've heard about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You just got to go to a long-established one.
Yeah, like some of them are clearly very, very successful, and people are having a really good time at these, and sometimes they're not. And definitely, if you and the ways that each of these things fail can be very different. The fan-run cons tend to be more failures of organization with goodwill, whereas when a commercial con or experience goes down, most of the time there's going to be an element of fraud involved. And sometimes we're not always sure what percentage of those things are. So now we know, here's our things. Let's talk about some of the horrifying failures, because that's where it gets fun.
I'm excited. I feel like when I was doing my like little research about this, the oldest event that I saw was DashCon.
DashCon is...
I did no research about, but I saw an iconic picture and I was like, oh, that's where that's from.
Okay, so the very short story of DashCon. This was in 2014 in Illinois, and it was a Tumblr-themed con. Back when Tumblr was more relevant than it is today. And I know there's plenty of people are still on Tumblr, don't come at me.
We're on Tumblr.
Yeah. But this was when Tumblr was like hot, when people thought like wave of the future and everything.
Before they tried banning nudity.
That was great. So the thing that DashCon is best known for is that part of the way through the con, and there's a whole bunch of stupid things, like the communication was really bad. A bunch of vendors pulled out right ahead of time. They were like letting minors into the 18 plus panels. I mean, it was a hot. It was a hot mess. But once the con had already started, so everybody's there, they suddenly get this mass email that a DashCon staff member tells everybody that the staff of the hotel has just informed them that they have to pay $20,000 up front right now for the use of the facilities, or they're going to be shut down literally right now.
Oh.
So they start publicly soliciting donations.
Oh my God.
At the con, with the goal of collecting like $17,000 before 10 p.m. tonight kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And meanwhile, like, they had a bunch of guests like N.D. Stevenson and the Baker Street Babes and Welcome to Night Vale, who they've been told,
Holy
like,
shit.
the convention was paying for their hotel rooms and everything, and they get there, and they're like, oh, no, you have to pay.
Oh,
And some of them just, like, were like, screw this, turned around and went home.
Yeah,
That's
good for them.
But then the organizers refused to, like, give any refunds for people who had bought like the specialized tickets to meet these people and everything. But what they said, and this is where this infamous photo comes from. And if you haven't seen the photo, I want you to just picture. It is an enormous hotel ballroom that is completely empty. There are no decorations. There's nothing on the walls. Like, this is a completely empty facility. And in the middle of this completely empty facility is a kiddie swimming pool. And the kiddie swimming pool is filled with, like, ball pit balls.
Leela, I know you've seen this picture before. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share this. It's in a pretty iconic meme.
It absolutely is. So what they tell all these people who have gotten like the special tickets to see. Yeah,
It's really
it's the
sad.
most depressing thing you've ever seen.
It's not even like a big ball pit.
No,
It's not a good ball
literally,
pit.
it's just a kiddie. So they tell all these
kiddie
people
pool.
who had like paid extra to meet these people who have all canceled because this is such a shit show, that instead of getting reimbursed for their money for the thing that they are not going to receive, they're going to get tickets to a raffle, a admission to a concert that no one cared about, and an extra hour in the ball pit.
Oh my god! I was clicking on it from different angles because like that picture of the solitary ball pit gets more poignant from
different
every
angles.
different angle.
It's just it's so
really
sad.
pathetic.
It's like you couldn't spend 30 seconds in that ball pit. You definitely don't want an extra hour in it.
Yeah, you'd have to be like a golden retriever to find joy there,
Or a baby.
or a baby.
And I mean,
Yeah,
like I have been to cons where they had a ball pit, and it was not indoors, but it was like big enough for like 4 or 5 people to sit up to their necks in the balls.
Oh yeah,
and that was kind of fun.
One of my friends has one of those, and they have parties at their house.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
you'll be listening to music with your drink in the ball pit with like 3 other
With, like,
adults,
3
and
other
it's
people.
like I could be sitting on a couch. I'm sitting in a ball pit.
And they put it in a room that's only slightly bigger than the ball pit, so it's
Yeah.
not obvious. And it's not advertised as a feature. It's just a thing that you can do when you need a few minutes off from the rest of the con kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, no one would ever pay for admission to the ball pit.
No, that's
Right. The ball
crazy.
pit should be for when you need to take a break.
Yeah, it's
Get
just
in the
there for
ball
chill
pit.
time.
Take a load off.
I mean, back
Yeah.
back in McDonald's and Burger King's heydays when we all were used to go into the ball pit.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have. That was like the thing. You didn't have to pay. You could just go use the facilities, right? So why the
Yes.
fuck would you pay?
Oh my god, it's true. This is so random. When I was 3 years old and my brother was 1, I broke my arm very badly, and my mom had to like rush out of the house, and my brother didn't have any shoes, and my mom passed him off to my uncle, and my uncle was like, "What do I do with a baby without any shoes?" So they went to the McDonald's ball pit for like 5 hours.
That's not the worst plan.
I know, right?
I can think of
especially
worse.
for like an uncle. He's like, McDonald's.
What do I do with a baby?
So the other one that is often held up as classic is TanaCon, which was this, I think, a YouTuber back in like 2018 who decided that she was pissed at VidCon and wanted to run her own counter programming. And the thing is,
rage motivation.
Oh yeah. Well, the marketing was deceptive and kind of implied that it was free.
Oh shit.
So they ended up with, so Tana said they had 15,000 people. The town police said it was more like 4,000 to 5,000.
Okay.
Tana says the Marriott can only hold 3,000. The actual Marriott was like, we can hold 1,000 people. That's it. That's our total amount.
Oh my god.
No.
So they ended up with thousands of people, 3,000 or 4,000 people stuck in the parking lot of this Marriott.
Oh shit.
No food,
Nightmare.
no water. People got hideously sunburned and were passing out all over the place. The police obviously got involved.
Oh my
It
God.
was a disaster. They declared that they were going to extend it to the next day, and there would be more space that day. But the facility demanded a lot of security stuff that they couldn't actually do, and so the whole thing was
Yeah.
canceled.
Oh my god.
So those two are sort of the elder archetypes of some of these things going hideously
This is making me feel
wrong.
pretty good about some of the events that I've hosted in my past. Well, one of which included a book festival, and it went better than that. So
Yeah. My little story from the first New York Comic Con, which they should have known better because they were actually professionals.
Right. Okay.
But this was the attempt to basically just extend San Diego into New York, which made sense. Great. The thing that they dramatically underestimated the appeal of this to the New York audience, and they thought they were going for a soft launch, and they only got half the Javits Center.
Oh.
So This thing was, again, it was one of those things where people were stuck in this line for literally hours. So, I mean, I was one of them stuck in this line. And usually you have like different lines for exhibitors has one line and press has one line.
Okay.
And they had a bunch of extra things that you needed extra specific tickets for, you know, like some of the big name guests and stuff. Mm-hmm. And those are usually handled separately through how registration works and everything. And it was all one line. So, like, I was with somebody with a press pass who couldn't get in either. People were people who had panels coming up couldn't get in. Exhibitors couldn't get in. God. I was with friends. At that point, it was like sunk cost fallacy. So it was I think I was in that line for like 2.5 hours or something.
Oh my God.
And as we're standing there, we're just like very slowly wandering back and forth because I mean, like they kept like rerouting the lines into increasingly more maze-like patterns, trying to fit all the people in the building. Because unfortunately, the Javits Center is huge, but and they've got somebody who's just going up and down there. It's all one line. It's all one line. If you'd been there the day before and already had your wristband, but needed the pass for the specific thing, you still had to be in the same line.
Oh my God.
So it's like it's all one line. It's all one line. It's all one line.
That's a nightmare.
I finally get up to I'm the second person before the the person in front of me goes up and asks for the travel convention. That's the other half of this, and they're like, "Oh, sir, your registration line's over there." No. Camera pads. That one was set up properly. There's no line. This man waited for 2.5 hours to go to his travel convention.
Oh my God.
There was no line whatsoever.
I would just burst into tears and go home at that point.
Really. Except that was actually a professional conference. So like that guy was probably like a travel agent or something. They probably paid $2,000 to be there. Probably this was
oh my God.
Then like once we got in, the actual offerings were pitiful. Like, they had very few big-name guests. The panels were not particularly well laid out or thought about. Like, you know how, like, in San Diego, they have, like, the big launches for, like, upcoming movies and everything?
Yeah.
I went to they had screeners for a total of 4 movies. One was Dreamgirls. One was Over the Hedge, but it had come out 2 weeks earlier, and I don't even remember the other two. Yeah, Over the Hedge, like this really, really crappy. And once they got to the end of the 4th one, they just looped it again.
That's so God.
It's so desperate. Like, it's like, what do we do? Start it over. I don't know.
Like, they stuck the cosplay contest in a random corner. Like, it wasn't in even a room. It was literally in, like, the corner where this poor girl has this microphone that can't be heard at all, because if you've ever been to the Javits Center, it's like 6 stories tall. Like, the atrium is massive. And they just had her out in the atrium. And they hit fire code limits on the exhibitor floor almost immediately, to the point that if exhibitors left to go to the bathroom, they couldn't get back to their booths.
Oh my God.
This is like so shocking.
It was,
and I don't know how anything could shock me
terrible.
after deep diving into a million lives all day today, but this is somehow still shocking
I know.
me.
It's like it's like a Firefest level of failure. Yeah. It sounds like
it was really pretty bad. I mean, the problem really was that they thought they were doing like an initial let's stick our toe in the water, and it was just like woof, all of the entire like eastern seaboard tried to go. It was a disaster. They have subsequently clearly gotten there. I've never been back. I was traumatized.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But they clearly, I know plenty of people who have. At some point I will. And they've clearly gotten their act together. It's fine now. It's a good event. People have a good time. But that first year was just like the growing pains were really sad.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They sort of like underestimated. There's something like that, but not at all to that level of failure. Happened in Richmond recently.
Oh?
Richmond is like also full of like fantasy nerds, and they tried to soft launch.
Who, us?
Okay, let me finish. They tried to soft launch a Ren Fair here for the first time like ever.
I was like, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Which is lovely, but I can see how that wouldn't soft launch so much as like hard
No.
splat.
It was like in the streets too. It was in like a.
It
a
was
limited
a weird
block.
Yeah, it was. They just tried because they were like, how many people could there be? It was on First Friday here.
Like our art First Friday.
Yeah, and I got there maybe like 2 hours after it started, and all food was sold out. Like,
Oh, no.
Did we go
everywhere.
together?
What?
We went together?
Yeah. No, but I showed up later.
Oh, okay. I was like, why don't I remember you? Okay.
Yeah. And then like to get in line to like the main bar that has like music and entertainment and like mead and like themed drinks. I stood in line for almost a full hour. My friends, including Christina, were already in there. And then by the time
We got there early and we only were in line for like 2 minutes.
And then by the time it was almost probably going to be like 10 more minutes before I got in. They were like, we're tired of waiting. We're leaving.
Oh no!
Okay, I will say that was a really fun day, though. Okay, it was like a really good day.
Yeah, I'm glad you had fun.
It was a lot. The event was a lot of fun.
bitterness.
You got shit faced. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's fun. Yeah, but just that's that situation. People are just like, I don't know, not that many people probably will even come. Am I right? And you're like, no, there's so many nerds. You have no idea.
There's so many nerds. You have no idea. Yeah. Okay, so I want to start talking about A Million Lives by reading something. One of me and Leela's besties, our book bestie, Liz. She's a nerd, a book nerd who lives in Baltimore. And I remember hearing her talk about this. So I was like, did you go? You didn't go to this. I would have heard. And she said, I have a quote. One of my favorite indie sapphic authors, R.L. Davenor, was going to be there. I was stoked about this event being so close to Baltimore, but I thought it was odd. I was only hearing about it days before, so the advertising was not good. I still thought it was worth it looking up tickets, and the cheapest option was $50 just for Saturday entry to the expo hall. I thought that was kind of icky and too expensive to just shop around when I could do it for free from their websites. Meeting R.L. Davenor in person would have been nice, but it wasn't enough for me to pay for one author. I even saw the $250 ticket for the ball and probably would have been suckered into it if I had known even a few weeks beforehand and not 2 days before via an author I follow. There were also typos on the website, which was not a good sign for a book festival. No. And that is how I am 1 degree of separation from the Fire Fest of Book Talk. That's our friend Alex. She made sure to tell me to please go follow R.L. Davenor on Instagram at R.L. Davenor. I'm going to link that in the show notes. And you can also follow Alex's new book Instagram at Lexicon Reads, which I'll also link in the show notes. So I thought it was fun to get a little like firsthand. She smelled the bullshit.
Yeah.
I think for me, typos on the website would be a huge red flag for a book
definitely.
event. A Million Little I keep doing A Million Little Lives because of the book A Million Little Pieces.
Yeah, so it was called A Million Lives, but
yes.
It's gotten very quickly turned into A Million Lies.
Yeah, and I do think I've counted about 1 million today, actually. So the organizer is this woman named Grace Willows is her pen name, with Archer Fantasy Events, which is just her.
Yeah.
Basically, possibly her husband.
And apparently there is history she's apparently managed to poison the well in 2 or 3 other fandoms before getting to this far.
Oh my god.
Not with events, but and I didn't get too deep into this, but I caught a lot of people making references to she was awful in this fandom, and then she was awful in this fandom.
Oh my god. This is why the fandoms need to talk to each other.
Exactly. Which is also why near the end I want to talk about why you should never go to a Jeff Mock event.
That sounds good.
The type of scammers who try to do this stuff, when they manage to burn out one audience, they move on to the next one.
That is like the author she's an author, I shouldn't do that, but that Leela mentioned at the top of the show, Caroline Calloway, who iconically wrote a book called Scammer about how she didn't write the first book she got a deal from.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of just writing the book.
Instead of just writing the book, she was like, fuck you, I'm going to take the advance and then write this other book and self-publish it.
Oh my gosh.
We did an episode about her. I will link that in the show notes as well. But and then she got called out, went through all this bullshit, self-published her own book. It took too long. Was there even really a book? Ultimately, the book came, and then she's doing book events that she is lying about what's happening in the events. And it's like, girl, why does anyone pay this woman for anything anymore?
I know.
Her book is called Scammer. She's a scammer. But I got scammed by her too because, well, I almost did because I bought her book and it didn't show up for like 6 months and I had to email her mom to get the book.
What?
Yeah.
Now that's cringe.
Yeah, that was cringe.
very.
And her mom was like, I don't know why my email's attached to her PayPal account, but I'll get that book for you.
Thanks, Mom.
So authors and vendors were signing up as much as 16 months ahead of this event for a $150 table fee. That's like when you pay to have a table at the event rather than being like an invited speaker or like perhaps being brought by your publisher. And authors were coming from like all over the country. Some authors were flying in, and as some like bigger names attached themselves to this event, then smaller authors were like, ooh, that sounds good. I like that author. I'm going to go too. I want to say real quick, everything that all my research for this comes from an NBC News article, a Guardian article about the event, and then also most of what I have is from a series of TikToks by author Percy J, who's an icon, and I will be inviting her on this podcast soon.
Oh, clearly. One of the things that I also find just particularly egregious about this particular one, because a lot of times it's them cheating the fans, but in this one, I'm honestly not sure how much of this was going in and getting in over her head, how much of it was intended to be a grift from the beginning. But the people who really got burnt on this were mostly the authors, and we'll get into how in a minute, but the majority of them are indie authors, so they don't have a publisher backing them, which means that's all their own money. And a huge number of them were like relatively new indie authors where they have not done a lot of events. They were looking at this as a way to raise their like general awareness in the marketplace. These folks did not have the reserves to get cheated like this. A lot of them are in a lot of fiscal trouble because of it. And it is absolutely worth, but like trying to, after reading this, go give them a follow, see if their books sound good to you, because like
I'll pop a list as well in the show notes. It's gonna be a hefty show notes on this one.
Because like that's one of the things that really bothers me about this particular one is that it feels like, especially because she started reaching out to these people like 18 months in advance, it feels like she was targeting people who were small and new enough to the industry to be hopeful and to not necessarily know what questions they needed to be asking yet.
And
That's
absolutely
just heinous.
It's predatory.
It is. It really feels predatory. And I don't know I don't know how much of it was intended to be good and she was in over her head and doesn't know what she was doing, and how much of it was that she was going after these people to begin with intention of bilking them. But it's like these folks did not deserve this to happen to them.
Absolutely not.
And so, sorry, couple questions. What city was this supposed to take?
This was Baltimore.
Oh, right.
Baltimore. Remember Alex?
Specifically, and this is very relevant, this was the Baltimore Convention Center.
Ooh, I went to a BronyCon there for My Little Pony.
So, I mean, as I said, like I've worked in like marketing, like corporate marketing for 15 years, and I have done a lot of very big trade shows. And the thing you have to understand about convention, like city convention centers, is they are massive and incredibly expensive. Everything is expensive. So we'll come back to that theme in a little bit.
Okay. So this author, who does her, Percy J, her TikToks are iconic. I'm going to pop those as well in the freaking show notes. But maybe listen to this episode first because I'm just going to repeat everything she said. But she was excited for this event. She flew in from Texas. She planned her fucking pregnancy and her uncle's funeral around this event.
Whoa.
Well, because she thought it was going to be a big, important thing for her career.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's not an unusual thing to do when you plan out, like as an author, when you're planning this stuff out like a year or so in advance and you're putting a lot of money down, you're going to move your life around to make this work.
And I will say, I do think it maybe got her a lot of notoriety, but just not in the way that she thought it would, because a lot of people watched these videos about this event.
Absolutely.
So she also paid an extra $250 to sponsor this event and was promised a lot of stuff, like author takeovers on their social media, stuff like that. And then like basically never heard about it again. But she was pregnant with twins, so she was like, I'm not worried about that right now.
Yeah. I will also say, like, if you go to like a normal convention at a convention center like this, the floor decals that are one of the many things in that $250 thing, those things are usually like between $5,000 to $10,000 for the floor decals.
Whoa.
So the idea of, I mean, usually, it's largely very profitable for the people selling them, but those aren't cheap to produce, and they are customarily extremely expensive. So
For a $250 sponsor?
well, spoilers, there were no floor decals.
Well, yeah.
What is a floor decal?
You know what a decal is. Like, you'll have a logo that actually is on the floor. So, like, as people are walking into the event, you'll be walking over a big logo. Like, usually this stuff is for, when it's a tech conference, it'll be like Adobe will have a giant logo on the floor, or there'll
So
be
you
giant...
can't miss them.
Yeah,
I
or there'll be
see.
giant wraparound logos on the pillars or whatever. Like,
Anywhere you can slap the logo.
Anything you can stick a logo on, they will charge you to stick a logo on.
Okay.
But they are usually very expensive.
Okay, so by the time the festival was coming up, Percy J was like, I should probably look into this. I'm so pregnant with twins. So she went on the website, she went on their social media and saw that there had been like basically no advertising. They were supposed to have 120 authors and vendors and other people. And the organizers were selling tickets the week before the festival at 40% off
Now,
for attendees.
The authors had all been told to expect 500 to 700 people.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going in. That's what they're making their decision off of, like whether this is worth flying in for. That's how many books that they are shipping at their own cost. Like, that's how they're assuming they're going to have 500 to 700 people are going to come through this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and the authors coming from out of town have to get their books. Like, they have to get their books to the place. The books don't just show up at the place because they had the festival. I think I heard that they had a bookstore that was supposed to facilitate book sales, but they like backed out, which that makes it easy for everyone. Granted, I don't think the authors get to see as high of a profit margin on that because they don't have to freaking check a bag full of paperbacks, which that's a toss-up which one is more valuable.
And again, if you're doing this at a hotel, this is all much simpler and more chill. When you're doing it at a convention center, the way this stuff usually works is if you have to do anything other than what you can like basically carry in with your hands, you usually have to ship it to an advanced warehouse, which is usually 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. There's a whole different set of shipping with labels. It's very elaborate of how it gets sent to your booth, blah, 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 blah. Because again, like, convention center rules are for massive events.
Yeah. They have a system. You work with their system.
Very elaborate system.
Featured authors were being put up in a local Hilton, but a week beforehand, the organizer, Grace Willows, said, the Hilton's not returning my calls. So I'm going to move you all to a Days Inn across the street.
No.
I'm not a big like hotel girl. I get the impression that those aren't the same caliber.
No. Yeah. Days Inn is more of a motel.
Yeah, it's like 2 stars worse.
I got you. And then at the check-in desk, the front desk said that Willow's credit card to cover the room had been declined, and Willow said her identity got stolen.
Oh, God.
And then another thing that Percy J noted, the Days Inn did not have a wheelchair accessible ramp. So pregnant with twins, very heavily pregnant Percy J had to like haul her bag of like checkbooks like up these stairs. The day of setup, there's no signage. I don't know, Leela, have you ever been in a place that was unfamiliar to you? Did you feel really calm and cool and confident just walking straight there? Or did you need like a little direction?
Totally. No. I'm in a full panic when I don't know what's going on.
Especially if you're there like professionally, you're carrying stuff, you're like, what do I do?
You just don't want to look like an idiot and feel like an idiot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, these places, again, convention center, it's designed to have, like, giant banners and stuff. And, like, you're already walking into this of, like, this doesn't feel like an event.
Right.
There should be, like, you can see all the places there should be signs, and there are no signs.
Where's the pomp? Where's the circumstance? Where's the presentation?
So then they get in, and there's no badges. There's no difference between if you are an exhibitor or if you are if you're an attendee. So there's just these wristbands, and they only give them to some of the people.
It's a classic only one line for everyone at the New York Comic Con.
However, unfortunately, they would not have problems with long lines.
Yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers. But so they get down there, and there's no organizers on the floor either. So the Baltimore Convention security is clearly the unsung heroes of this entire story, because
there's a big hero moment at the ball later.
We'll get there in a minute. So they're the ones who are like the security people who are actually telling these people how the heck to get to where they're going, what loading docks they need to be at, like where do you need, the security people are taking care of all of this, which is not their job.
Yeah. The table map that they had originally gotten, it's important to know where your booth is so you can tell your fans how to find you, and so you know where to go. But it was like the map that they had originally laid out was not up to fire code, which is, who needs that? So like everything got rearranged. There was no tablecloths, and a week before the event, all the authors had gotten an email from organizers saying, let's clear up some rumors about the tables and tablecloths. Mark my words, there's going to be tables and tablecloths. But there weren't tablecloths. And so like that can really go a long way in making all of the tables look uniform and like dressing them up instead of like the metal legs sticking out. So like you want them if you have them. They look nice. So authors were like getting there early to set up, but then like waiting to see if tablecloths would show up. And ultimately like a couple showed up, but not enough. So people started getting set up with like their own like different tablecloths or like without any tablecloths.
Oh God, hot mess.
But it gets better. So, like, one of the things that was part of the sponsorship packages is the right to put swag in the bags. So, usually, most conferences, conventions, whatever, there will often be a bag that has stuff in it. And it might be just like a postcard, or it might actually be like a free book. It might be a cookie with your logo on it. People will pay a lot of money both to have the right to put something in the bag and then also to produce the stuff that goes in the bag. So, these people all pay to have stuff put in the bags, and then they pay to produce these materials. They pay to ship them to them. They get there, and she claims that the convention center has thrown all the swag away.
Leela, think about how much money our podcast makes a month, and then think about how that is the exact cost of like 500 bookmarks, and then think about if someone just threw them away. It's like, well, fuck us, I guess.
There's a lot of cynicism that I've seen online of whether they were actually thrown away or whether we should all keep our eyes out for this stuff appearing on like auction sites in a couple of months.
Yeah, because what could have happened to it?
Because this convention center, by the way, absolutely categorically denies this, and so far the convention center has not lied, and someone else has. So everyone's kind of believing the convention center.
That seems like a crazy amount of stuff to just throw away that probably wouldn't have looked like trash.
It's all at the trashiest, it would have been like a series of 100 matching bookmarks or something like that. Like you would be like, I'm not going to throw that away.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's a Friday, Saturday event. Friday was for VIPs only. 10 a.m. the doors open, for better or for worse. Wherever would be tableclothed or not, the doors open.
Oh, actually, listen, we talked about the prices for the authors. Let's talk about the prices for the attendees. So we talked about this. So $50 gets you the Saturday attendance to the vendor hall. It gets you admittance to the cosplay meetup, and it gets you use of the content creation room.
Oh yeah, that room.
$150 gets you access to the VIP day, where you're supposed to get extra stuff and you get an extra day. There's supposed to be panels that you can go to, and you get this swag bag. And then $250 gets you all this, plus the Lavender Romance Ball.
Lavender Romance Ball.
Lavender Romance Ball. Which is honestly a terrible name, but that's the least of our problems.
I'm sorry, how recent was this?
This is
May.
Oh, like
this was May of this year. Yeah, we definitely should have said that sooner. This is so recent.
Oh, wow. I mean, like, as we're recording, it is actually still June, so this was last month.
Yes,
it was very
last
recent.
Month.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we'll have what has happened up to this point, but it is possible the story is not over.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, also fun thing was that the authors were given different authors were told different things about whether this was a family-friendly event. So some authors brought their kids, and some authors had extremely explicit art prints with all of the details visible.
Yeah,
oh, no.
I think when you were talking about DashCon earlier, talking about letting minors into 18 plus panels, like we don't fuck with minors, guys. That's like the one rule that you really just need to take care of the fucking minors. So there was basically no attendees on this first day. It was VIPs only, and
okay, remember, 500 to 700 people predicted.
Right.
The estimate is 30. 120 authors, 30 people, and they're not sure they were all guests attendee. Because remember, they weren't checking the wristbands.
Yeah, true. It said one talk had more authors on the panel than people in attendance. There was a couple panels, a Journey of Being an Indie Author panel, and I was looking at the schedule and it's not even capitalized consistently. And I'm not out here to say every event planner needs to have perfect grammar, but what they do need to do is make sure that on the final product there is perfect grammar somehow. You know what I mean? Get it edited. There was an ACOTAR cosplay meetup. I tried so hard to find pictures of the cosplay meetups and I could not find anything.
I'm skeptical whether they happened.
They may or may not have happened. If I trust anyone in this, it's the enthusiastic very few attendees. I thought I would maybe find something. But ACOTAR is an acronym. It wasn't all capitalized. It's just whatever.
Oh, geez.
I really wanted, and there was also a Cruel Prince cosplay meetup. Could not find any evidence. When it was time to break for lunch, the organizer just came into the vendor hall and was like, "Lunchtime!"
But then didn't lock the room, so no one could leave their stuff, including, cash boxes and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, all their merchandise, everything they brought with them.
Okay.
Oh, my favorite is the content creation room. So,
tell us all about it, Caitlin.
What do you picture when you hear the words content creation room? Because I'm not even sure what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
What do you think, Leela?
Okay, this is so dumb, but I actually I'm thinking about that stupid fantasy room from Spy Kids, and you step in,
that's fun.
So cool.
The door disappears and then there's just screens everewhere and all this 4D, there's mist, there's all this stuff happening.
Leela, I love your dreams, honey. I love your brain.
What it was a completely bare room with literally nothing in it.
How, in what way, what was it supposed to be?
No one's clear, but unfortunately, it was only available the first day. On the second day, it was unavailable due to technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties with the room? Question mark?
There
Leela,
wasn't even any...
literally
let
look
me
at
see.
this.
No one can even figure out, how do you have a technical difficulty with this room?
Look at it.
My God.
It's like a
no
sinister empty room. It's not
I was going to say, there's not even
room.
a cute background for selfies or
There's
anything.
literally nothing.
Okay.
It's like back rooms. It's scary.
Yeah,
I would be
that
scared
is
in there on my own.
It doesn't have good vibes, that room.
No.
Oh my God, the content room is possibly the best. But that's the thing. Everything here is fucked up, but the content room, that makes you giggle.
Oh, yeah. The panels, there were no furniture for the panels either. The panels were held with people literally sitting on the floor.
Yep.
Oh, God.
There's a video of them just everyone's sitting around the edge of the room with their back against the wall and their feet splayed out in front of them, trying their best to have this panel.
You're saying there was no furniture even for the panelists?
No, there's no furniture in the room.
Oh, God.
So we'll talk about, I've got some theories that when we're done with the whole catastrophe of what I think may have happened there.
Yeah, because we were rising toward we're crescendoing toward our narrative finale here.
So then we get to day 2. We think maybe 80 people showed up on day 2. Yeah. But, of course, the capstone is the ball.
Yeah, the ball.
Now, fantasy balls, as we were discussing earlier, are usually these beautiful, elaborate, evocative events. Everybody wears gorgeous ball gowns and wings and crowns and everything. It's usually hosted in very beautiful locations. There is fancy music. Might be fancy food.
Freaking Bridgerton.
Yeah,
I was gonna say $250 for that. I feel I would pay.
It feels
a fun
reasonable.
treat.
Yes. And that's not an unstandard price for a fantasy ball, and especially the idea that the $250 is 2 days worth of panels and meet and greets,
the VIP access.
It's actually maybe even a little cheap.
Right.
So this ball, would you like to describe the ball?
Oh my God, I'm scared.
Okay, so imagine it, Leela. Leela, we're so excited.
Yes.
We spent like
We're
3
so
hours
dressed
curling
up.
our hair and we're drinking it up in the hotel room. We're feeling so good. We're going to the fantasy ball. We walk in. It's the exact same brightly fluorescently lit conference room as the event, with conference room seating and
But no tablecloths anymore. There are no tablecloths.
no tablecloths. I'd say maybe
God. Step down.
maybe 5 silk rose petals on every table.
Like dollar store rose petals.
Petals?
And that's
Like the
it.
silk rose petals.
Not
they
even
just
the
like
rose.
dropped like a
Yep.
couple of petals on each table.
Yeah.
The tables, by
Okay.
the way, are just in 2 giant rows. It looks like a cafeteria.
Oh, it's literally like a conference
It's cafeteria.
room.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same conference room.
There's no decor.
There are
There's
no
no
rugs.
music.
No music.
The
No.
DJ pulled out and they didn't
Replace
fix
them.
it.
So then we get our hero. Our hero is
The security guard. Do you know his name?
I think it was Steve, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so the security guard feels so bad for these people that he goes and gets his own personal Bluetooth speaker and loans it to them.
From home. He drives his ass home and gets the speaker.
Because he
yeah.
pities these people so hard.
Oh my god.
So I thought when I was reading this, I thought that the speaker, they called him DJ Steve, but it actually makes a lot more sense that the security guard was called DJ Steve. There was no food, really. There was only like a small table of like shitty desserts. And there was a cash bar. Your $250 ticket? Congrats. Here's a cash bar, including $5 for water.
Stop. No. Water has to be free. Come on.
$5 for a
guys.
bottle, honey. A bottle.
Not at a convention center.
So it was at this point that dark romance author Callista Neath stomped the fuck up to Grace Willows and said, "This is bullshit. I'm paraphrasing. You are going to start refunding people right now, and you are going to post a video apologizing for this right now." Callista, woo!
Yay, Callista.
Yeah.
Let me guess. Grace was like, maybe not.
Oh, no,
No,
she did.
I'm gonna
there.
play.
Oh, she did it?
I'm a screen share. I'm screen sharing.
Oh my god. Remember to share your audio as well.
Okay, I always forget that. Thank you, Leela. See, we need each other. Because you're gonna need this sound.
Hi, everybody. I am wanting to issue a formal apology. I do understand that the ball tonight was not set up to standards. There were a lot of issues with getting set up, and it was not set up well. I want to apologize. If you would like a refund, please contact me, and I will issue a refund immediately. Thank you.
So, Leela, this is the lighting that was happening.
Yeah. So she apologized for the ball, and that's it.
Oh, we're not done. We are so not
Yeah,
done.
we in the video. I mean, did you feel the scared, cornered animal in her
Yeah, I
energy?
did. I saw it in her eyes.
I'm so sorry. So, way to go, Callista. I'll definitely have her shit linked in the show notes as well. Maybe I'll just do a blog post. So, that was it for the night. There's a lot of videos of people having poignant disappointment at this event that are very funny and so sad. Some really truly beautiful. I mean, there are so many, mostly girlies, you know, like so many beautiful girlies there with their friends having a really sad time.
But they channel it into their art.
Yeah. And I hope everyone got so many TikTok followers or whatever from posting about this, because I watched a shit ton of these TikToks today. And y'all know I'm not even on TikTok.
Yeah. So obviously she makes this promise. This is May 3rd. Like 2 days later, she walks it back. But she promises that May 31st, she needs time to get a loan because all the money is spent. She'll get a loan. She'll pay everybody back May 31st. So a few people do manage to like dispute things through PayPal. They get some money that way. Nobody gets to take bills. May 31st, there's an email from Archer Management. Not from Grace, from someone else. Remember, this is a one-woman show, so no one's too sure who Archer Management is in this.
Yeah.
But
it's like if I sent out an email that was like, I'm writing this on behalf from Burn Before Reading on behalf of Christina and Leela. And it's like, who's writing it? That's us. That's everyone.
With a sob story about how Grace is in the hospital.
I'm going to read it.
Oh, yes,
This
please
is being
do.
sent on behalf of Grace. She was taken to the hospital this morning around 4:00 a.m. with intense pain and loss of feeling in her lower back. At this point, the doctors are not sure what is going on, and due to the weekend, not all of the staffing or tests are available. This may delay refunds slightly, as she was going to processes them today. She will process the refunds as soon as she is able. Do you know how I know Grace wrote this?
Typos.
The grammar's still fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That is like 16-year-old getting out of work.
Yeah, and then there's another follow-up that is blaming, being upset about people with the hospital rumors, and it's like, it's your organization that were the ones who said the hospital.
You said.
Yeah.
But people responded angrily to this email, and then Archer responded again, being like, I've attached a screenshot of her medical charts. But like they were just like really basic ER tests with like nothing specific or no, like there was nothing there. It was just like
So
stand-ins.
as of now, which is June 30th, is when we are recording this particular episode, which is mostly just relevant in that, it is a full 30 days after this.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, no one has gotten any money back except for one author who had brought books to sell, and Willow's suggested that everybody take her books because of the lack of swag bags. So effectively, Willow stole this woman's merchandise and gave it out to everybody to make up for not having swag bags. So she got
my
her.
God.
She actually did get about $1,600 back, which is still not all the money she's owed, but it does at least somewhat
It's a lot
cover,
more than everybody else got.
Well, yeah, it at least does cover the theft. A whole bunch of people, at this point, everyone's starting to go quiet because there are now legal actions pending and no one can talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because legal actions.
Yeah.
So, where my theory go from here? There's certainly an element of fraud involved in this.
Yeah, because to have done incompetence, you would have at least gotten halfway there. You know what I mean?
So here's the one argument that I've heard made that is slightly credible for the incompetence theory, which is she actually has run a fantasy ball before. So she ran a ball that was called A Night at Terracin that apparently actually went really nicely. There's videos of it. It's beautiful. People clearly are having a good time.
Okay.
Here's the difference, though, is that A Night at Terracin was held at the Peabody Library at Johns Hopkins. This building is gorgeous, all by itself. The building is stunning. You would not have to do a single thing to make this place beautiful and evocative.
Gotcha.
And the other thing is the Peabody Library is designed, it is an event space. They hold weddings and other kinds of evening events there. So
It's set up better.
So it comes with an event coordinator. It's going to come with packages that include chairs and food and linens and all that kind of stuff. It's built into their pricing structure. And you can go look at it, and they've got packages for if you want to rent this for this kind of event. This is they take care of it all. The thing you have to understand about convention centers is that there is literally nothing free at a convention center.
Yeah.
Do you want carpet? You need to pay for that. Do you want the padding under the carpet? Is a different price. Otherwise, you get bare concrete. Do you want drapes hung to hide the fact that the walls are ugly as sin? You're going to pay for that. I have been part of a team that ran a 3-day conference, and it took us 9 months of planning. It was a major deal.
Yeah.
But that was at a hotel. That was easy mode. At a conference center, I've run a lot of where I've gotten booths there. And it's if you want a garbage basket, a wastebasket, the last time I checked, and I haven't done this in 8 years, the wastebasket costs $12 a day. And it is literally a cardboard box with a plastic liner.
Oh my God.
So if you pay for it, they can make miracles happen for you.
Sure.
But absolutely every single thing, absolutely every aspect of this, nothing is out of the box.
Okay. Whereas at the other location, it kind of just could have done itself.
Yeah, it's like you roll in, you say, what does it cost to have an event here? They say this much, you say, great, have a check, and it magically happens for you.
So she might have thought that this would be more like that.
Now, there's no way that they didn't tell her. But there's a special kind of...
Hubris is a strong thing.
There's a special kind of arrogance. And one of the things that you keep seeing with a lot of these... So, I mean, we're not going to get into Readers Take Denver. That was last year. It was a different thing. It involved 3-hour lines and sexual harassment and people and an assistant getting assaulted and all kinds of super fun stuff there.
Oh, my God.
The same thing... You start hearing the same things where they had successfully done an event before... The event scaled, like doubled in size from one year to the next. And every time you hear with these things, one of the repeating things that always comes up is that the organizer is not the kind of person, the kind of person who kill the messenger. That whenever somebody tries to tell them or suggest that something isn't working, that they cut them off. They, very often, the people who they hire get fired, the volunteers get fired, there's they get into very antagonistic relationships. So, I mean, like, at this event, multiple people heard the event organizer making fun of and complaining about, like, the tattoo artist that she hired on site, like, complaining to attendees about complaining to other authors about,
I also heard that the tattoo artist was not given an outlet and had to find, like, a battery pack or something to do her, like, flash.
Because if they wanted that, they needed to have paid for it, and they needed to have paid the electricians to run it.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, and that's just a bad leader. That's just somebody who shouldn't be a leader in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So the question, of course, is after this, if she'll probably get sued into oblivion, but she'll probably get sued into bankruptcy, declare bankruptcy, disappear, and then pop up again in another fandom in 2 years from now.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet you will be hearing it all again.
Oh, my God.
You think she'll change her name or something?
Well, she's got a book. She's publishing a book that came out a couple days ago with that fucking name on it. Yeah. She's a fucking author. Oh my God.
Well, that's not gonna... Okay.
A couple just like random things that I wanted to mention the tattoo artist, so I'm glad we circled back to that. I also wanted to mention, this is just another detail from the event. There was a panel on queer diversity, and apparently the moderator facilitates it. The moderator's the one who says, now you talk and say this thing. Here's a question. You talk now. The moderator left to take a phone call in the middle of the panel and never came back.
Oh my gosh.
How
people later recognized the moderator as Willow's husband.
Oh, that explains so much.
Poor man, I think. We don't know. We don't know. So I thought that was a fun fact.
Oh, no, I missed that detail. That's fun. I mean, horrifying, but fun.
It is horrifying, but fun. That's accurate.
Quote, this is Percy J. Quote, if the bar for events was on the floor, A Million Lives Festival sent the bar straight to hell. I was shocked and bewildered constantly because every 30 minutes something else went horribly wrong. And, do you have anything else on this topic, Caitlin? Because I have a fun little video, quick video to sum it up when we're done.
I'm a little sad we never even got to Wicked's World Fair, but because that one was all. So I had mentioned the never go to a Jeff Mock event. This man's born out of New Jersey.
Tell us who that is and why.
Okay, so this guy, again. Past history of some really great events. He used to run like the Steampunk World's Fair, which was a fantastic event if you were an attendee from the outside. Apparently, for the volunteer side, it was not so hot. He used to run he runs a lot of events. He's very, very good at coming up with really creative events that have a lot of really fun activities and pulling people into it and like creating this very evocative world. Like the stuff he pulls together is cool, except that there is both a whole series of both shady business practices and sexual misconduct in this guy's background. So at this point, like, he's basically persona non grata in New Jersey. Like, no event space will rent to him. No one in any of the fandoms he operates in will have anything to do with him. But he started making inroads into Pennsylvania now. So just the most recent one, Wicked's World's Fair, was last year in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. This included, he dramatically oversold the number of tables available to the vendors, so then he just started shoving them in places. So there's like vendors, this is a hotel con where they're supposed to be in the ballroom, but now the vendors are also shoved into the performance spaces and the hallways. One woman was operating out of a closet. Like, they literally put her in a closet. The facility, like, water started dripping through the ceiling, and then ceiling panels fell on the vendors and their merchandise.
Oh my God.
He didn't pay the AV vendor, and so this one's also one that had, there was supposed to be food. There was no food. He just got like 2 food trucks for the, couple hundred people who were there.
Oh, God.
The vendors were promised 6,000 attendees. He said there was 1,500. The attendees say that there were way fewer, but he didn't scan the QR codes on their Eventbrite tickets, so there's no way for anyone to know. He's, of course, blaming Eventbrite, but he... there's an absinthe tasting that turned out to be just the single bottle of absinthe at the bar.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was amazing. So the 2 things that come out of this, though, is first, there is an amazing video online that's worth looking at in which the vendors call him out at the event and film it. And one person almost draws a sword.
Okay. We will be viewing that.
But the worst part of all of this is he had his wedding, which I believe is one of multiple sequentially at this thing. People are pretty sure he put on this event to get other people to pay for his freaking wedding. 2, by the way, a woman who is 21 and substantially younger than him.
Gross.
After have a long documented history of sexual harassment of minors.
Oh my God.
Yay! So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So basically, with a lot of these, it's a good idea to start to learn the names. And when they pop up in your space, don't go to their events.
Yeah, run. Don't walk away.
Run.
Oh my God.
He also owes $900,000 in taxes.
Oh my God.
Bitch, if I have to pay my taxes, so do you. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, right?
We're going to end this episode with a little poem from old Percy J.
Yeah. This one's delightful. Yes.
I have come to truly love this author. Isn't she's so cute too.
If there's anything good that comes out of this, maybe the making of her career.
Yeah.
This is Grace, remember her face, because she threw us a ball. 'Twas bare and a scare, and quite unfair, because she lied to us all. But fear not, she cried, and again she lied, for refund shall be paid. So we tempered our hate and began to wait, for reparations were sure to be made. But then the day came, she shifted the blame and thought that we would just buy it. But we're far too smart, and it hurt our hearts that she would even think to try it. 'Cause excuses are rather like nooses, because one tends to get stuck. For a million lies can fly from your lips, but you're sure to run out of luck. Though it's all quite funny, we're out lots of money, and some are forced to sue. But don't be afraid, I'm here to relay how you can stop this from happening to you. People like this keep up their tricks by jumping to a new fandom scene. From books to games and niche movie frames and everything in between. So if you're a nerd, spread the word to everyone in your crew of our tale of woe and our infamous foe, so she can't take money from you.
Yeah.
Yay!
Wow.
Percy J. I will be reading some of her books because this is the first time I've heard of her, which is cool. I'm glad I found her.
Yeah.
All right, and the scammer, her name is Grace. What?
Grace Willow.
Grace
That's her
Willows.
pen name. Her non-pen name is French, so I don't know how to say
Grace
it.
Jubada.
No, it's like Martescu, Marsceau.
Marceau.
Marceau?
I think
That's so
right?
many letters.
I know.
French.
French
is so
nonsense.
hard for me.
I agree.
Okay, well, shall we wrap it up with our little game, Leela?
Yeah. Okay, Caitlin, do you think that the million
Million Little Lives.
lives scandal is horny, sad, or just plain bad? I'm sorry.
Sometimes this
It
game
makes
works
more
better than
sense
other
with
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's still a valid question, though.
I'm debating between sad and just plain bad, but I think I'm going to go with just plain bad because a bunch of people who couldn't afford it actually did lose money. Like, I think if it had just been like, oh, I paid $25
Right.
to go to this ball, that's the saddest ball in the world, that would be sad. But given the amount of money involved, I'm going to go with just plain bad.
Yeah.
It is
okay.
absolutely not sexy.
It's not. It's not horny at all.
I've the picture of all those rooms.
Clinical.
Yeah.
Upsetting.
I am not going
Sterile.
to say that there's nobody, because I don't kink shame and people have all kinds of interesting quirks.
So
but
true.
very few people are going to find a featureless convention center concrete floor sexy.
Maybe
true.
some people might have a failure kink.
I'm sure.
Failure king.
Absolutely.
I wish I did. You know what I mean?
And they would say horny
Yeah.
for this. Leela, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a just plain bad sad mix. I think 50-50 because I think that the fact that all of these like indie authors, really everybody, lost so much money and were mistreated and had a horrible experience is very, very sad, and it's just plain bad. It's just plain bad.
It's just plain bad. Yeah, I'm going just plain bad as well, because I do think that there's like an indignation and a rage and like a need for retribution that does not lend itself to sadness for me. Like, we want refunds, we want answers, like we want you to be held accountable, Grace Willow. So
Unfortunately, I suspect that's not going to happen.
it's not going to happen, but the rage is still strong. So I'm going to go just plain bad as well. This is fucking bad. This was bad.
God, and it just happened. That's so crazy.
It
and
just happened.
In
conclusion, if there's typos on the website, don't go.
Don't go.
Yeah, don't go. I obviously am glad our friend Alex didn't go, but what a fun story it would have been.
You almost kind
We
of
would've
wish
had her
that she
on.
did.
I kind of wish she did. We could have reimbursed her with podcast money to come tell her tale.
I would have thrown in for that.
Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a really fun conversation, and I'm glad that you gave me a reason to look into this event that I'd only seen online tangentially, and I
got
it was
sucked
crazier than I
in.
could have dreamed. Yeah.
I do love like a failed. I don't love it. I don't love that it happened.
It's a
and I
good
don't
story,
love
though.
Going, I wouldn't love going, but I'd love a failed festival like that. I think it's just something very fantastic about seeing.
It's the hubris.
Yes.
Yeah.
The hubris is so much of it, of just believing that you can pull off this massive thing and just continuing to charge on. Because, like, anyone in touch with reality would have been able to tell 2 months out that this was just not going to pan out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like Alex said that she only found out about it 2 days
apparently
before.
there was like no advertising.
Yeah.
Which
it sounds like she just happened to see that an author she already liked was going to be near her.
Yeah, it was like she went after a bunch of guests and got them to lay down their money and then just stopped. Like, just did not promote this at all. And I mean, I've seen like fan run conventions who have made this mistake, but they were smaller and cheaper and well established. And then they're always like, oh well, why isn't anybody new coming to our thing? It's like, because you didn't advertise. But at least they have like a repeated group of people who know they exist and come back every year. You can sort of see with this, like starting from scratch, brand new event. You need to lay out serious cash.
Yeah, and why not pick a more intimate or just smaller venue? Like, I feel like that's really
it wasn't, to be fair, like it wasn't like the entire convention center. It was like because there were other events happening there, but it was clearly like the basement.
We didn't even mention that it was in the fucking basement.
Oh yeah, it was
literally in the basement.
Okay.
I mean, if you've ever been to one of the big city convention centers, these things are like aircraft carrier sizes. I mean, you could fit like a 747 in them. But yeah, like do a hotel. Hotels know how to do weddings.
Sounds right.
They know how to do balls. They can do a ball.
And like a hotel ballroom it doesn't have a ton of character, but it has more character than this.
And plenty of people manage to have perfectly respectable weddings in hotels.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. This is such a good story that my roommate, who's not even like a book person, I sent her the TikToks about it. And I was like, I know you like some tea, so just watch all of these.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we can share with everyone. Caitlin, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you on the internet?
I am at CaitlinRozakis.com, the extremely obvious website. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. I've got a newsletter. If you happen to read one of my books and you like it, the newsletter includes, when you sign up, you get a free short story. The one that's currently up is about one of the minor characters of Grimoire Grammar School, who is an extremely waspy werewolf who has to go to Costco.
Oh my God, I love
She
that
doesn't
so
like
much.
Costco.
That's awesome. I can't wait to read your book. Everyone definitely check it out. And thanks again. It's been
Thank you. This
great
is
time.
delightful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Appreciate all of your knowledge. And I like you have kind of this like cute little like retro like hairstyle and like makeup thing that I'm really liking as well. I feel like you do well here in Richmond.
Yeah,
probably.
so true. Yeah, so true.
Except my hair like frizzes is bad enough in New Jersey humidity. I don't think I can handle Virginia with.
Yeah, don't come here right
humidity.
now. It's not a good time.
In the
It's
winter.
Pretty humid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll catch you in the winter. Well, I hope you have an awesome time. Everybody, check out her stuff. And that's it for Burden Before Reading.
Thank you.
Until next week, remember,
Your cringe is part of you.
but only a small part of you. Thanks for listening to Burn Before Reading.
Created by me, Christina Kahn.
Hosted and produced by Christina Kahn and me, Leela Hilton.
Logo designed by Michael Hardison. Follow him on Instagram at RoyGBivRVA or check out his work at wildlingpress.com.
Theme music by Sakura Wishes.
Find me online at Christina Kahn.
And find me at Leels for Reels.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Tumblr at BurnBeforePod.
Or feel free to give us an email at burnbeforepod@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, friends.
See you next time.
Dave X Media.